than breast cancer.
I am more than gastric cancer.
I am more than Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 3.
I am more than Lynch syndrome.
I am more than metastatic male breast cancer.
I'm more than PMDD.
I am more than diabetes.
I am more than lupus.
I am more than FAP.
Welcome to More Than a Diagnosis. I'm Den.
And I'm Jess. This podcast is about so much more than cancer, chronic illness, or the labels we've been given. It's about reclaiming our lives, finding community, and thriving in ways we never thought possible.
Whether you're a patient, a caregiver, or just someone curious about what it means to live beyond a diagnosis, we're so glad you're here.
Hey pals, today we are bringing you a powerful episode with our friend Ashley, a breast cancer survivor who experienced breast implant illness and ultimately made the choice to explant and go flat.
Ashley's story is layered, honest, and full of healing. She walks us through her diagnosis, the complications she faced with implants, and what it really meant to reclaim her body on her own terms, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
We just want to be clear that this is not at all an anti-reconstruction episode. It's more about informed choice, self-trust, and honoring that every survivor deserves full, honest information and support, no matter which path they take. Ashley, thank you so much for being here with us. I was just wondering if you could start out by introducing yourself and sharing with us your initial breast cancer diagnosis and kind of what that time looked like for you.
Sure. Thank you first off to both of you for having me. I'm so excited that you both decided this was a podcast that needed to be out there because it does.
Absolutely.
And I think your journeys are really important to be informing people on both of your individual experiences and then you as best friends supporting each other. It's really important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I was diagnosed in 2018 with stage 1 breast cancer. It was found by myself from a breast exam that wasn't planned.
Mm-hmm.
I was sore. I had been bowling at an event, a fundraiser the night before, and I was feeling around and I was like, gosh, I'm really sore in that area. And I found a lump. And it was one of those things that, as most of us know in diagnosis, it goes very fast. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with ERPR positive, HER2 negative breast cancer. So I was told I had the perimenopausal breast cancer. Mm-hmm. They prepared me for the worst of the worst because I was 34. Okay. And as we all know, when we are under 40, they prepare you for what it could be. And mine wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was best case scenario every time. I had an ONCA score, I think of like 16 or 17. Oh, wow. So that determined I didn't need chemo. And because I opted for a bilateral mastectomy, I was not willing to consider radiation if I didn't have to have it. I felt like it was presented to me like this little thing that you do and it's not that bad. And I knew from family history that what it can do to your skin and all of the other things, if I didn't need it, I wasn't going to have it. So bilateral mastectomy was what it was. And so I was officially diagnosed in September of 2018. And then in October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it was, I was a little bitter myself then. But I had a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction in October of 2018.
Okay. And what influenced you to have reconstruction? Were you aware of all your options at that time? Why did you decide to go that route?
Such a great question. I think informed consent is extremely important, and I did not receive that.
Yeah.
I was given the choice of lumpectomy with radiation or reconstruction. And I had seen pictures in the past, really those pictures of, bless the women who just had doctors not properly leaving them flat. And really of how it looked. And I had an awareness of that, but in a grotesque capacity. So I did not know about flat. I did not know about breast implant illness. And I did know of deep flap. I knew, one, I didn't have enough body fat at the time to qualify, but I also knew I'm a 10%er. And I know that if 10% is going to go off on somebody, it would be in that.
Yep.
And, right?
We both
As
know,
many of us are.
We both know all about that.
Definitely.
I see you.
Yes.
So it wasn't an option. So between the two, it was, well, of course, I'm, given my age, I did not want to deal with this in the future. Sure. So double mastectomy was the option, done. And implants, I had the opportunity to interview up to 3 plastic surgeons. I made the decision after the first one. But in the journey, I feel like there was so much of the informed consent that was glossed over and not fully presented.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that's one of the huge reasons why we wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about this, because for myself, I also went flat, and that was because I did know a lot about all the things that could happen from folks like you and other folks that I know who have had complications. And so for me, it's not so much that I'm anti-reconstruction at all. It's more that, like you've mentioned, it's about informed consent. It's about knowing all the information and all the facts on what is going to happen to your body. At that time, had you known about the fact that, you can only have implants for so long before you have to have them exchanged and changed out?
So I was aware that they would need to be changed. What I was told varied depending on the appointment. So I was initially told in 15 to 20 years, then I was told 15 years, then I was told 20 again. And the FDA actually recommends 10 years.
Yeah.
I cannot believe.
Wow.
So that was a variable of, when you're going through breast cancer, I don't care who you are, fight or flight mode kicks in.
Oh, absolutely.
And in any cancer, right? In any serious diagnosis. And so I can hold a lot of grace, not only for myself in the past, but also for anyone who would choose reconstruction.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing the best you can with the information you have. And even sometimes in having the full information that a lot of people are getting greater access to right now, they still will disregard what is best because of the stresses and the decision, the pressure. I'll go as so far as to say societal judgments in the patriarchy message of, you're a woman, of course you need breasts.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
That's a whole episode.
Yes, it is. It sure is.
When did you start to feel that something was off?
So it's a double-pronged conversation, because even 2 years since my explant to aesthetic flat closure, it's evolving and how I'm connecting the dots. So I think a loud sign that something wasn't okay was that I developed an infection with my expanders. And it is presented that is very common and that happens in it. But the belief system that I now hold is that is your body telling you that something is not okay. It is not okay. We have put a foreign object in your body to do what your body does not want to be done. It was never used in a reference to me until COVID, but when you have cancer, you are immunocompromised.
Absolutely.
Right? And when I went through the process of choosing the implants, I was sold, and I intentionally use those words, I was sold on the benefit of joining an FDA study to be a part of the trial study of Motiva breast implants. So this was before they were released, because they've been released in the last 3 months publicly to the U.S. market. They had been on the market, it was something like 12 or 16 years internationally, but never in the U.S. So what I was presented was Motiva was a fuller option. They were micro-textured. They had a blue dye in the manufacturing process so that if there was a rupture, they would find it. Again, all of these are feeling like benefits. Fuller in profiles also benefit because when we have a mastectomy, we have no breast tissue. So concavity, the dimpling, all of that, the idea was to lessen the need for fat grafting. So all of this sounded wonderful. I was told that I would get yearly MRIs, which later would only be if there was a problem. So what felt like a benefit at the time, I was thinking, okay, I have to follow up with them for a year on top of my oncologist. This is great. I'm just getting more eyes checking on me moving forward.
Yeah.
And there was an informed consent packet, and I read every page, and it did say there is a risk of cancer, and it said autoimmune compromised people should not be included in this, and I qualified as a breast cancer survivor. That to me doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there was nothing about breast implant illness in there, and it was a reflection on myself of doing some research internationally and finding other people who've had those and being like, okay, I think this is the best option, but really like they've already been using it and they're going to follow up with me. So I felt well informed, but I did not know, one, in the warning sign, the expanders, right? My body was already showing we had an issue. Then after I had the reconstruction, so I had what they call the exchange. So it's when they remove the expanders, you're at the desired size, roughly stretched to, 3 weeks of puberty instantly. And that process was excruciating as well.
So I've heard.
It felt like...
Were you going bigger or were you going the same size or?
I was going the same size.
Okay. It's interesting that they didn't go direct to implant because you weren't having radiation and you didn't have to have chemo. Was there a reason why they did that?
Yeah, so they didn't know that I wouldn't need radiation and chemo until after because of the biopsy came back with the oncosaur score. They didn't have it beforehand. That's why I had the expander, because they were prepared for chemo and radiation.
I see. That makes sense.
So in that process, the exchange, they removed the expanders, they put in the implants, and then they did fat grafting. And I remember saying, who in their right mind would ever sign up for fat grafting? Because it's lipo. They do lipo on you from wherever you have fat. And so they did it in my lower love handle area and injected it. So I had the opportunity to learn. I know this is not what you asked, but I was learning on this journey of elective surgery and the things we don't know, right? It's the minimizing of the healing journey was my awareness in this experience. And so probably 6 months after the exchange, I would have acne breakouts. Now, they said it was because I couldn't be on my birth control because my cancer was hormone driven. So it was easy to blame it on that. I would be mowing the lawn, and it didn't take much to exacerbate my physical state where I would start having breathing issues and almost be to the point of puking. And it was, there was a lot of stress going on, and it was easy to say, well, it's because of that.
Of course.
And I think it's an and. Yes, there was stress. Yes, there were, situations where my body was finding a balance, and my body was starting to show micro signs that it was not in balance. And I think that's where it started with the implants having issue. But then by 2022, Houston, we have a problem, massive problem.
And how did the doctors respond when you brought this up? And she laughed.
It is not a gracious laugh. That's why I'm really appreciative to be able to share my experience on your platform, and that I have chosen to publicly share my experience, because I might be a unique human being, but my experience was not unique. And I would never wish this on anyone, any person going through this journey. So it initially started with me going to my general practitioner and being like, I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to have all of these issues. And it was, okay, let's do your blood work. No problem. Everything came back normal. Let's get you tested, make sure you don't have asthma, because I was having breathing issues. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking my dog, who I walk 5 miles a day, and I can't get around the block because I'm going and I'm having to stop. And I tell my friends, I think I'm getting sick. It's got to be allergies. I did a great job of compartmentalizing and being able to search the label. And I was not fully listening to my body. My body's now screaming at me. And where it changed was being at lunch with some friends, and we're just having a conversation back and forth, and I'm trying to say, and I just think that, and I cannot breathe. And they both stopped, and they looked at me and said, stop, this is not okay. Which hospital or urgent care are you going to? And I'm like, you're overreacting. And they're like, you're not breathing. So
Ashley, you could barely finish a sentence without gasping for air.
Right. So I go to urgent care, and the head of the urgent care is an ER doctor. And they were like, she's stable, so she doesn't need to go to the ER, but she's showing cardiac issues. Could she have an embolism, pulmonary embolism? Could she have something else going on? My blood pressure was all over the page, and I was a 120/72 or die blood pressure, always. And I was like, I meditate, I eat well, and it just wasn't adding up. So all the tests showed back normal. No, there's no issues. Everything's fine. Then I go to the pulmonologist to get tested for asthma, and they won't see me because I'm presenting with heart attack symptoms.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm sitting here going, 38 at the time. Like, no, this isn't possible. Everyone's overreacting here. But there was a problem, right? So I'm doing a combination of awareness and minimizing.
Yeah.
So friends show up and I'm like, whoa, this is, you guys, what are you doing? And I'm in the ER and they've done another CT scan and everything looks fine. And I'm like, could it be the implant? And it's the first time I say this. And they were like, they're not ruptured, so no. I'm like, there has to be something. So I'm getting angry with the ER doctor, and he's like, you're stable. You're stable enough for me to discharge you, and you go walk back over to the pulmonologist and now go do an asthma test, which came back as negative. My vision is getting blurrier and blurrier. I've got a chronic cough. And chronic cough, if you are in the cancer world at all, you know your doctor has said to pay attention to that chronic cough. So there's a trigger. But there's no issue. Yeah. I've got every scan under the sun and blood work to show everything's fine. Yeah. So it got to the place where I had a heart monitor. I was seen at one of the best cardiologists in Nashville, Tennessee. And he calls me and he said, Ashley, I was prepared based on what you were presenting that there were going to be issues and we were going to have you in surgery very soon. And I'm calling to tell you your heart looks younger than what you're presenting. You have a perfect heart. He's like, where there should be some calcification, there's none. Like, everything's wonderful. So I suggest, like, maybe you need to get an endoscope with a GI doctor. And he's, like, naming all these other things. And that was where I said, okay, this is crazy because the physical symptoms are there and all of the tools that I have are not working. I now have cystic acne. I'm fluctuating and swelling where I look like I'm 45 pounds heavier on any given day. My joints hurt. Then I start realizing my hair's falling out and I have this clump and I take a picture and I send it in a group text and I said, this happened from today. How much hair do y'all normally lose? Because I had really thick hair, really long thick hair. And they were like, that's what I have in a year. That's what I have in months. So I jumped down that rabbit hole. I have an allergist at this point because I had developed, prior to cancer, an anaphylactic paprika allergy. I can now say it's gone. I don't have it, and I have no allergy.
So you were having all these like autoimmune system reactions then? Yes.
So that was all of 2022. And the end of 2022, like Christmas time, I get COVID for the first time. And because my health had been so unstable, I never got vaccinated. It was a conversation with my doctors of like, we don't know how you're going to respond. We don't want to add anything to it.
Yeah.
So I knew what that could mean in getting COVID, that it could be a little bit more prolonged. And the depth of the pain that I had and the fever and the respiratory, all of it was going on. And at 3 weeks, now everything's getting worse. I'm getting swollen lips, and it's not when I've had paprika. I'm getting a cough that is so dry mouth, dry eyes, where I can't stop blinking all the time and they feel on fire. And then I started to get a choking sensation where I would be talking or I had water, and then all of a sudden it closed with no swollen tongue, no swollen lips. And when I tell you, that was so scary.
So scary.
I had chest pains continuing where it would just boom, it was like a knife in my chest, and I've got my hand on my left side, then my chest, and I say chest because I did not have breasts, right? They were not mine. But they started to have a bluish hue to it in the rippling. And
but didn't they say that the implant had some type of blue dye?
So that was what I was thinking. So I reach out to the original plastic surgeon's office and I'm like, hey, have you had anyone? And this was 2022, I reached out, and 2023. Have you had anyone with heart issues? Nope. They checked the study for what we've never heard of this. Okay. Fast forward to 2023, I'm having my yearly follow-up in February. I'm coming off of COVID. I have not seen anyone or been around my world, and I see my best friend when I'm finally clear, and I tell her, I was like, I gotta share this with you. I don't really want to talk about it much, but I know I need to get it out. I had a dream last week that I was flat, and I'm not ready to go there, but isn't that crazy? And she says, It's crazy that you're bringing this up because I keep forgetting to share with you. We had a mutual friend who had implants and had them removed and was sharing with my friend and matter-of-factly said, I'm just so glad that I'm done with Zyrtec. I don't have to take a Zyrtec every day for my cough.
What?
You're like, ding, ding, ding.
And you put everything together.
And I'm a fast connector of the dots, and so I go home and I find GPAC that has phenomenal third-party studies that are not associated with the breast implant manufacturers that are talking about breast implant illness and that have a list of symptoms. And then I find that I have 25 symptoms.
My goodness.
Then fast forward. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Well, this is good. In 2 weeks, I'm going back to my doctor. Well, the next week, everything's blue. Everything's like a bluish purple, and I'm taking pictures. It's not coming through to the extent that it is. So I call the doctor's office, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is like a breast implant illness thing or if this is separate from it. And I get a text, if you're concerned about your health, like if you need to go to the ER, go, but we don't think this is breast implant illness. And that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So I went to the appointment, and this was part of the trial study, right? I had to go get checked up. And I said breast implant illness, and he spoke of the fact that, this is something that's now trending online, and he's done a lot of research. And, what really disgusts him are those doctors who say breast implant illness is real, but then they also put implants in. And so he's got his soapbox, but then I, as a patient, it's not like you could have symptoms, Ashley. That's not discussed at all.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was okay with it because I just wanted them removed. So it was, well, he doesn't take insurance anymore. And he's one of the best. How do I get to him? Well, we can appeal. And in the evolution of that, my insurance is only now covering in-network. And he needed to do a peer-to-peer review, and there was no availability in his schedule to do that. So I was left with no hard feelings, you can go somewhere else, is what I was told.
Alrighty then.
Okay.
So I started the process of finding doctors that were in my network in Nashville, and I did not have good experiences. I was told, well, you don't want to be a part of that crazy group of women online claiming breast implant illness, first off. Second of all, you don't know what you're asking for. En bloc is a very dangerous surgery. We could puncture your lung or your heart. You could die from that. The doctor who said that one to me was literally, his hands were shaking. And I'm like, well, yeah, because your hands shake. I don't want you.
You're like, yeah, I don't want you anywhere near me.
You are not my surgeon.
No.
Right. So I went to 3 doctors in all for consultation. I was told, you're going to regret going flat. You're so young. And I said, do you have any pictures of women who chosen to go flat with you? Why would we ever promote that on our website? No, we don't have those pictures. The red flags were screaming at me so much, and I was finding like, okay, well, I can't go to shaky hands because that's scary.
Yeah.
But even though that one won't promote it and told me I'm not part of, I don't want to be a part of BII, he's still really good. So I was compromising with myself, and I was lost because I was desperate. And luckily, I had the support of a wonderful friend who really held space for my journey. And I found through TikTok Dr. Shahir Khan in Michigan. And I remember saying, yeah, there's a doctor, south of Nashville. I can't go. He's like 45 minutes drive. That would be so far to go for that surgery and have to drive home. And then I'm like, maybe I'm going to Michigan. But after I had a consultation with Dr. Khan, it changed everything. Dr. Khan saw me. He listened to me. And the most shocking part of the experience was the evolution of what I needed. I needed them gone initially. But the transformation in that evolution was I needed a doctor to not only believe in me, believe in breast implant illness, but then also, it mattered to me that he didn't put implants in. Because as bad as he was seeing that, he couldn't in good faith do that. And that aligned with me, my ethics, my personal, needs changed. And this was in 2 months. So this is a very fast process too. And when I made the decision that he was the guy I wanted, it then came, okay, well, my insurance isn't going to cover. This is private pay. This is GoFundMe. I'm a small business owner. I can't work. Oh my gosh, how much savings am I going to have left through this? And my best friend started a GoFundMe. And between family, friends, and people I don't even know, I had enough to have surgery with Dr. Khan in Michigan. I had enough points to have a flight for me and a friend travel. Another friend was willing to take care of me for a week or two, which that did not go as planned and is a part of the latter. So long story short, I wasn't seen and heard until Dr. Khan, and for me it was the right choice to take such an extreme measure of traveling for Explant.
Yeah. You must have felt so validated by Dr. Khan.
Completely.
And seen, and just like, I found someone who really believes what I'm saying and believes that I know my body enough.
Completely. And that I could trust him to do it right.
Yeah.
And not skip steps. That I didn't realize the connection on how much that has to be a part of it, because if you're just removing implants and leaving the capsule, that has potential to create ongoing issues. So for him saying, no, we have to do it this way, there's a level of accountability both on his expertise, but also on how I will respond thereafter based on what he does or doesn't do in surgery.
Sure. So what happened, because you were a part of that study? How did that, obviously they don't want that kind of information, I'm sure. It seemed like they were trying to kind of avoid that by what you were talking about with your appointment and saying, hey, I think something's wrong. So what happens then with that?
So I was initially told, when the implants are removed, you're done and you don't have to be a part of the study anymore. And that didn't feel right, but also I'm trying to survive. Sure. So I'm not putting a lot of thought into it. And my doctor said to me, you need to circle back with them and make sure that you remain in this study, because if it is these implants, whether it's a manufacturing issue or breast implant illness, you need to stay in there because your data is important to it.
Absolutely.
It's ethical. It's only ethical for you to remain in that study.
Yes. And so when I circled back, I was supported to stay in the study and scheduled for an appointment a year after. And I was required upon explant to have the implants returned to them so that the manufacturers could investigate and determine if there was any issue. From a very superficial capacity, I wanted to keep those implants because I wanted to cuss at them and poke them and just have some therapeutic. But for the greater good of obviously understanding, okay, there's a reason I'm a part of this. There's a reason I have an ability to speak up and speak out.
Yeah.
And so I am still a part of the study today. And I have been back twice since my explant to them.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you. And that's because of me. That is because of my advocacy to ask for it.
Absolutely. Because otherwise they probably would have just let you go away quietly.
Yes.
Because it would hurt the numbers.
And it says in the informed consent that you have the right to stop. And other people have stopped.
Sure.
And if you stop, there is no why behind that. It's just stop study.
Yeah.
Right? If you die, that's a stop as well. So there are factors that I'm aware of with Motiva that the data, while they've presented one of the best stats that are out there, their manufacturing stats as a whole related to post-implant experience are from patients and doctors who self-report. So if you don't self-report, and there is not a system that is requiring explant and the patient portal that I'm sure most don't know about or care to because they want to move on with their life.
Sure.
The data can only go as far as the information and the tools we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you share a little bit about how, the process looked like physically and emotionally for you to go through the explant process?
Great question. It was a second mastectomy.
Yeah.
I had nipple sparing originally, so I was required to have them removed at that point for the sake of, that was my choice. Let me be very clear. There was no way that I was willingly keeping nipples on my flat chest, but to remove all breast tissue, it is a responsible choice to have that removed. I was not privy to the fact that nipple sparing, while it's extremely helpful in the emotional healing process, it does leave breast tissue there.
Yeah.
So in my awareness that I was going to have a second mastectomy, and by this point I was divorced and single at 38, 39, I crumbled. I crumbled emotionally, and I filmed myself in the crumble, talking it through, and I posted online, and I decided I'm going to share this publicly because it's ugly, it's messy, and it's nothing I was aware of, first off.
Yeah.
But most importantly, all the things that I did not feel, could not feel, or allow myself to feel in the first mastectomy, This was my second chance.
Yeah.
And I believe in, it's interesting verbiage to say this because I think it's a fine line between positivity and toxic positivity.
Sure.
Yes.
But I can see it, the glass half full always.
Yeah.
And I believe everything happens for a reason. And while I would not choose this to be my journey, if this is what it takes to heal on a deeper level, I'm not missing this opportunity this time.
Sure.
So fight or flight mode was there in the finding the surgeon's capacity. Fight or flight mode was in the let's get it done. It's got to be now, right? Yeah. And then when Dr. Khan came into the picture, it was because for the first time I had chosen me. And I said, I need the best.
Yeah.
And this is the ultimate investment in myself. Now, it took a lot of support from my best friend, too.
Sure.
Right, to talk me through this.
Absolutely.
But everything had to crumble. It fell to the ground on a level that I did not know. My identity as a woman, my femininity. I am a straight white woman in the South. By this point, I've cut all my hair off. And I'm in the trenches of it and living it alone. This was something I had to do alone, though. So I didn't have anyone else's energy to regulate or support. I got to concentrate on me and let it all fall, let it all be messy and ugly. And I knew I was going to need affirmations.
Yeah.
I was going to use that as a tool to help in the healing process. So I had sticky notes around my house. I had it written on my mirror. I had these tools in place from the previous experience that I learned after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in counseling when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I put myself, within days of diagnosis, I was like, oh, I need a breast cancer counselor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I found a grief-informed trauma therapist who gave me so many tools to navigate. So now I was aware, this is grief journey. Yeah. This is the grief journey I did not have access to before. And I had a timeline. And that's okay. That's perfect. It's going to be some weeks, and then it'll be 2 to 3 months. And it's fine because I can handle the timeline. And that was another right. You're laughing.
I'm like, right. Yep. Been there. Done that.
We all
right?
To put a timeline on things, and the universe is like, yeah, that's a funny joke.
Right. And I think for so many of us who've come through the breast cancer journey, so many of us have had that control, right? Yeah. Those are things we can control. And this journey is about surrendering and letting go of the old ways that don't serve you. This is an opportunity to change it.
Yeah.
And I had done so much of it before, but this was different. What does it look like when you have no timeline where it ends? And I say that because that's how it evolved with me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
So with the journey of Explant, they say that detox is possible. A detox can start anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks post-op, unless you're Ashley and to speed up the process on a subconscious level. So I had a vasovagal episode after surgery in the hotel room where I passed out. And it was like my body did Control-Alt-Delete, restart. And I was stable. Doctor was in touch. Everything was normal, pulse, all of it. But it was a singular moment that really scared me, and I will go so far as to say I know I had a close call. It wasn't that moment. That was my awareness. So when I say I'm lucky to be alive, it's not because of the cancer in my case. It's breast implant illness.
Yeah.
And what my body went through because it was declining fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, my detox intensely started 2 weeks post-op. And
I'm sure there's no timeline on that.
There's no stop button until it's done.
Yeah.
And it was intense initially, right? So the detox symptoms for me were similar to that of an addict going through withdrawals. So I was sweating. I had vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, bloating. I had a metal taste that showed up in my mouth.
Wow.
I had, which breast implants are linked to high metals, heavy metals.
Mm-hmm.
I had burning sensation in my eyes when I would cry. It would burn. I had severe constipation on a level that was very humbling.
Yeah.
Very humbling.
Yeah.
And my body, I've had so many surgeries in my life over the years, and I know how to navigate a post-surgery recovery. And It was not the same.
Yeah.
I was in a binder 24/7, which I knew that would be the case for 6 to 8 weeks, right, with T-Rex arms. When I had my original mastectomy, that went longer because of the infection that I had had. Okay, fast forward, I'm going to do things differently now. Well, part of my scar opened up.
Oh, no.
So in the surgical recovery, Dr. Khan, when applicable, doesn't use drains. And that was a major benefit, knowing how much my body was rejecting things.
Sure.
If I didn't have to have drains, that's great, because we all know they are not comfortable, and there's risk of infection with them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my left side was completely flat without issue. My right side held inflammation.
Which side did you have the cancer on?
My right side. Yep. And on a deeper level, I had lymph nodes removed. I had 4 lymph nodes in the original mastectomy. So on just your normal filtration ability, mine's a little stagnant on that side.
Sure.
And then if you go even further to the level of belief system that I have, your right side of your body is your masculine energy, which your right side of the chest, that can hold grief, that can hold anger. And I had a little bit of anger. a little bit of repressed emotion. So knowing that, to me, everything is working together, right? Your tissues hold your issues. It was slower in that process. And what was a small little opening that really worked as a pressure valve to release it. It was not a hematoma. There was not a seroma issue. It just went poof and released, and then it was deep. And it was over 2 centimeters deep, and it was 1.25 inches ultimately in size after everything had settled. And I was in touch with Dr. Khan every day. I did not require going to a wound care specialist because of the level of expertise that he had. Wow. And I was in T-Rex arms 24/7 in a binder for 11 and a half weeks.
Oh my goodness.
So that timeline of learning to stay in the moment, learning to trust the timing, learning to remove all timelines was a great journey.
That's a long recovery.
Yeah. And there was a period for 5 weeks where I was not allowed to take a shower. And my best friend came over every day. And she changed my garments. And because of my vasovagal episode, like, we had to watch me on my dizziness because now I had a sensitivity.
Yeah.
And we had to scrape and pack and do all that. And it was excruciating and it was gut-wrenching. And then the detox started to happen where I was now vomiting. And I'm not sure when it hits, and it can be for 3 hours. It can be up for 7 days was the longest time where it happened every day.
Oh my goodness.
And I've got T-Rex arms, and I'm in a binder.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck at the toilet.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating so much that a yellow film is coming off of me.
Oof.
It's staining my sheets, so now friend is also washing sheets for me. My neighbor ends up being a physical therapist with wound care expertise and is able to come and help and give my best friend a break. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
Your body was really going through it.
Yeah, it was a very intense detox.
Man. So how long did that detox process last?
1 year.
And were you seeing Dr. Khan as your doctor through the detox, or had you found a different doctor at that time that was walking you through that process who had validated that this was an actual diagnosis?
So I did not go to my primary care because I did not want to get in a car because it was so intense for the first, I don't know, however many months.
Sure.
And so I had the validation of Dr. Khan that my detox probably started earlier. My detox waves, there was a correlation with my cycle of initially, like the week or two before my cycle. It was horrific. My cycle was all jacked up too. It skipped twice after Explant, and then it came back with a vengeance on a level that I can't quite explain. So Dr. Khan was like, I don't know with the hormones, like, because my age, by this point, I'm almost 40, so like, let's get that checked.
Yeah.
So I did go and get it checked when I was 6 or 7 months post-op, and it was not showing any signs of, menopause or, anything like that. So I got on, thanks to TikTok, I started using sweet yam cream.
Yeah.
And it's a holistic, pea-sized drop that you put on, your wrist or your belly or in your bicep, and it's to regulate naturally your hormones. And within 1 month, I started having improved cystic acne. The acne that was all over my back was starting to resolve. And so that made the cycles better. And I had been told for every year that you've had the implants, that's 1 month of detox.
Wow.
So I had the implants for years. well, that's great. That's a 4-month detox. I can handle that if it happens. Timelines are subject to the individual.
Yes, yes.
Everyone is different. Some people will never even have detox.
Yeah.
I had it for a full year, and like literally, I have a pop-up crystal shop with my best friend, and I would be puking on the side of the road or puking at home before I'd leave and then go out to it, right? Both some were opportunities where I needed to rest and stay home, and I did, and other times I pushed through it.
Sure.
Sometimes it was a valid push through, and sometimes it wasn't.
Sure.
But that learning to listen to your body was a massive journey, and Dr. Khan was a vital piece in empowering my intuition and saying, I need you to listen. I need you to listen to what your body's telling you.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, I know this is a lot to ask, but if you're open to it, how did your divorce intersect with your illness and all your feelings?
Yeah, it definitely was in the mix. I am willing to share. Thank you for asking and holding space for it, because I think it's an important conversation when you consider the statistics that come with breast cancer. I was aware going into my diagnosis that there's a high rate of divorce when she has cancer. It's a higher rate when she has it than when he has it. And the layer for me was I had been married 9 months at the time of my diagnosis.
Wow.
We eloped with the plan of having a wedding in October of 2018. And instead, I had the choice of having the wedding or having a mastectomy. And the doctor said, go have the wedding and we can schedule it in November or later. Like, go have that. And I wanted it out of me. I did not want to live another second with cancer in my body. I didn't know what the cancer was at the time, right? We didn't know all the stats. But I knew I had to get it done. And so we canceled the wedding and I got a mastectomy. And 6 weeks after the mastectomy, I knew we had a problem. We were not okay. And our communication was not where it needed to be. And while space was held for me initially, that became more and more trying. And all of my dysfunctional coping skills came out, rearing their head. So, less about him, more about me, right? This is how I learned about anxious attachment.
Yeah.
This is how I learned about codependency.
Sure.
I talked in circles because I believed all you needed to do was just say it this way, and then it would click. But what I wasn't doing was showing up with my vulnerability. I was crying when he wasn't home. I was crying when I was by myself and in the car. I wanted to be that strong person because he was spiraling. And I became a cancer survivor, and for me, he was the cancer victim. So when you have someone in your life who has a life-threatening diagnosis, that can trigger your own fears.
Absolutely.
It is a very normal thing. And in spite of the fact of us having individual counselors, it really came to a point where I knew something wasn't right. I knew we weren't okay. But I was never going to leave. I took these vows. That's till death do us part. In sickness and in health, well, I'm about to be healthy, so I got you. I'm going to double down. I'm going to be full court press. All up in here. And we didn't grow together. And so by my first year after my mastectomy, which I consider that my cancer-free date, we were separated and, tried back and forth, and ultimately he decided to leave. And when he left, it was right as COVID started and my world crumbled. All the things that I could not feel, all the things that I could not access emotionally crumbled. And I remember thinking, I haven't shared this one publicly here. How is someone ever going to love me and be able to see me knowing that I've had cancer and this is my chest? And let's go a step further. I had breast implants and I had the perfect reconstruction. My reconstruction is the kind that they put on pictures and they promote. It looked so good. But the emotional disconnect to what my body was and what others would think of it. How the heck am I going to go through this? How the heck am I going to tell this story? And so I fought harder. I doubled down because I couldn't fight for myself, but I could fight for that. And so I literally begged a man to stay and choose me. And I'll never forget the moment that I got my voice back was when he said he was leaving. And we were on Zoom with our counselor sitting side by side in the house. And he said, I'm leaving.
Wow.
And I looked, like we had to get on with the counselor to say, and I looked to my left. And The counselor didn't do the normal counseling things of, Ashley, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
How do you process? None of that. She didn't. She said, effective immediately, you can no longer be my clients because you both are not on the same page. And Ashley, what do you want to say?
Wow.
And I said, get the out of my house.
Yep.
And he left, and I started cleaning the grout. I grabbed a toothbrush.
Yep.
And I grabbed baking soda. And I started cleaning the grout. You want to understand the disconnect in emotions and right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was the hardest moment of my life, and it was the greatest gift he ever gave me.
Sure. Wow.
It was the greatest gift because he gave me the opportunity when it was good to love myself in a different way. He really held space for my heart.
Yeah.
And then when he couldn't anymore, I had to do it for myself.
Yep. And that's what
I
matters.
had to choose. Oh my gosh, woman. That self-love journey.
Yeah.
You cannot be who you are supposed to be in the world until you can see yourself and love yourself.
Yep.
How do you do that? Where does that start? Well, it doesn't start with cleaning the grout. I can tell you that.
No. And it doesn't start with somebody telling you they love you or that you're worthy.
No.
It's you telling yourself that.
It's yourself.
Yeah. Having to choose yourself.
Yeah. Yourself. Truly feel it. And what, during all of this, what helped you cope emotionally, or what helped you stay grounded throughout this whole process? I
Great
can't
question.
imagine for an entire year.
Yeah. I had to do a lot of self-work differently. So I am a recovering people pleaser, codependency, anxious attachment style. So I was empowered to do this alone, a lot of it. Now I will say this, and she deserves far more credit than I can even begin to say, but best friend, oh, how she showed up. She held space for the evolution of this journey. Yeah. She got angry even when I couldn't get angry, right?
Yeah.
And she was a phenomenal support, but she always reminded me, but you did it. You did this. Yeah. And I needed time alone. Honestly, it was zero bandwidth for anyone. Mm-hmm. And so that was okay, but it was hard equally. I'm someone whose spiritual practices and beliefs evolved in this journey. So I learned about grounding, and that's literally walking outside, putting your feet in the grass.
Yeah.
And so that became a practice of just standing there and, being in the South and being out here in my backyard when it's cicada season and they're literally dive bombing into you. That made it hard. I had Hertz frequency on YouTube and in Spotify in my ears. Hertz frequencies have been linked to relaxing the nervous system. So that became a tool in my sleep that I would just put earbuds in and fall asleep with that. Guided meditations were a massive thing. And, when you're not working for 11 and a half weeks and you're in a binder and you can't concentrate, I could not concentrate on reading a book. It was still blurry vision coming and going. So Hertz frequency would just play. There were certain times for my mental health, I binge watched shows that were very reflective of where I was at. So I'm love romantic comedies and sweet, funny things that are cute and humorous, and I was watching the Vikings. Valhalla.
It's a little different.
Right. I was like, that violence, watching their violence felt good, So it was
whatever works.
Yeah. And journaling. Journaling was something that's not always easy for me. I've had a bunch of wrist surgeries, and writing things down. The videos that I posted on social media, I never posted anything real time because I needed the emotional bandwidth to have the confidence for it to be there without constraints from what the internet would do and people on the internet. So giving myself time in all of the ways and using affirmations on a basic level. I had a friend who's a Reiki practitioner who said, I can see you going through some pain here, and I think on the most basic level, start your gratitude process. So I would walk through my house and I'd say, thank you for my fork. Thank you for the money to be able to buy a microwave that could sit on my counter so I could just push a button. Thank you for my dog. Thank you for the AC that is on.
Yep.
And it was micro. Yep. And I repeated it till I felt it.
Yep.
And I cried a lot. Yeah. I cried a ton. There was no this is too much. We're not doing this again. Yeah. I am learning everything. Yeah. And the affirmation that I think is my life to the T is it always works out, and it always works out better than expected. Everything works out for me. It always does. It always does. I've never had anything show me that it hasn't. It hasn't felt good. It hasn't looked good.
Yeah.
But where I'm sitting here right now, it's worked out.
Yeah.
Not on my timeline. Not the way that I wanted.
Not the way you imagined always, but it always works out. For sure.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that you found something that really, or things that helped you through that, because that's a lot. What a journey to go from divorce and feeling unworthy, feeling like you have this quote unquote perfect body, hot tits, you got it all, and thinking who's gonna love me, who's gonna accept me like this, to then having to lose your implants, to going flat, to finding your voice, and to where you are now. It's huge.
I fell in love with myself.
Yeah.
I date myself.
Yeah.
I do things for myself that I never could have fathomed. Like I talk out loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's a party for one. I have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I have a dog that loves to hold space.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Aww.
But the truth is, 98% of the time I love this body.
Sure.
I cannot believe I had boobs.
Yeah. I feel that.
Small. I did not know I was small.
Yeah.
My frame, everything, it fits. Flat freedom is a real thing.
Sure
This is not to minimize the grief journey of learning, to love my body and the femininity, right? It's still happening, right? There's only so much you can do on your own. It's a whole other thing when you bring someone in a romantic partner capacity.
Sure.
But I love my body. I show up online topless.
Yeah.
I have kept my short hair.
Yeah.
And because why not?
Yeah.
This is one life. I was given an opportunity to be here. I was given a chance to have everything fall apart and get to decide what I do thereafter.
Yeah.
And it does not have to happen like this ever again. My body will never have to scream at me. We are working together to shift to the whisper. We're still not quite at the whisper.
Yeah.
But I'm working on that. And to know that I started dating. I haven't shared this publicly. And I have not put it on social media because I have not been sure how I want to share it. But the right people don't even notice.
Yep.
And my healing journey when I went out, I've experienced transphobia. I've experienced bullying both online and in person. My chest will fit a narrative of hate and anger and fear if you're looking for it. And it will take a special man who can hold space for me and my empowerment and the excitement of life.
Yes.
But in the journey of people seeing me at glance, what started in my healing journey is people going, oh, and looking at me, being told, what's that? What do you think that is? Being told in the grocery store, you're disgusting, when people just passed me. So I had the first awareness to deepen my allyship and respect for the trans community and LGBTQ+, and how I show up in allyship.
Absolutely.
And then beyond that, how I show up in the world also reflects what I receive too.
Yeah.
So if I show up in my sheepish and curled up, and I receive those same experiences. But when I show up with my confidence and my shoulders are back, and I am wearing my tight shirt or dress that does show that I'm flat, sometimes they don't even notice. They don't even see it.
Yep.
And it's really obvious.
Yep. It's so true. You get what you put out. Absolutely.
Yep.
I wish everyone could see your glow when you talk about how you love yourself and how you really see who you truly are. You radiate. And I wish that everyone could see it. Because it's not you trying to convince us.
Yeah.
Ashley, I see it all over your face. You truly believe it with your entire being.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see.
It really
is. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your amazing journey with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wouldn't wish this journey on anyone, but my hope is that every woman can drop into her truest self and access that. It's messy. It's not linear. There is no time frame. I understand it is not as easy when you have external factors like children, partners, jobs, other things, right? There's a lot of gifts I had to be able to go through to get to here, right? That sped up my journey. But in speeding it up, I will happily share and reflect to you too as well, because I may have 7 years from distance from my journey.
Yeah.
You know, yours are fresher, yours are newer, yours are still being navigated, but this is what time can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So to close things out, there's two things that I would love for you to share. One is for folks who are on this journey of self-love and self-discovery, what are things like practical, tangible things that someone can do when they're like, I want to feel that. I want to feel that way about my body. Whether they have reconstruction and they're trying to accept their new bodies, or they've gone flat, or whatever their choices are. Maybe they've had other surgeries that have changed the way that their body looks. There's all different things that we go through in this community. Whether you've had cancer or chronic illness, there's surgeries and things that change your body and change how you show up in the world. What are things that folks can do to start that process of learning to love themselves?
Great question, because these are things I had to learn trial by error, and I'm still learning, right?
Sure.
I don't think we talk about this enough, so thank you for that. First, I'm a huge proponent in affirmations.
Yeah.
I understand the fake it till you make it isn't fully healthy. I understand that. And in the same breath, you have to start somewhere. And it's not going to be easy at the beginning. But when I had the chance, and I started doing this prior to surgery because I knew I did not know what was coming.
Yeah.
So I would stand in front of the mirror, and I would stand in front of the mirror naked. Ugh. Right? Like, oh. And it was reading. And the minute my brain, and I would go, oh, but look at, stop, back up. And it would go from the top. My body is beautiful. My body has protected me. I love my scars. I love my curves. These dents, these dimples, these lumps, they're all part of the fact that are signs that I'm still alive and I'm here. Repeating these, and they changed, right? Certain ones I said at the beginning, I don't say now. So the other piece that I think, there's a few things that I'll suggest beyond that. When I did it, I would play music that would either allow me or empower me to cry my brains out. I wanted to release it. I wanted to let it go. And if I couldn't, because it's holding on my body, I don't want to hold this in my body anymore. So I knew those songs that will get you to ugly cry. Or I'd put on the Hertz frequency, and because I would shift it, right? I want this to be healing. I've done the release. Now I want it to start to shift in a positive direction. Then the attachment concept. Oh, I'm so grateful for my best friend and my counselor for working with me on this attachment, right? Attachment is such a huge thing, but you cannot be attached to what you look like in this moment and what you think in this moment to what you will be in a week, in 3 weeks, in 6 months. The journey of healing changes, especially when there's surgery. I'm 2 years post-op and I'm still getting improved changes in progress on the little dent that was the deep wound.
Sure.
So staying flexible to the fact that this is temporary. And that was part of the affirmation. This is temporary. So using that, I also think when the emotions come up, because you never know how they're going to show up, especially if they've been repressed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Letting it be felt, and letting it be felt out loud. I'm not a wailer and a like, no. But like if the tears show up and the snot comes, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
And create a space for yourself. So if that's in your car, do it in your car. If it's in your shower and your bathroom, water is so healing. Letting it come out. And it's okay if you feel like you are hungover afterwards. It's called an emotional hangover.
Yep.
It's that vulnerability hangover.
Yep.
And for you, you have to hold space for yourself before you can ask anyone to hold space for you or you for anyone else, right? So the messy part of the self-love came from putting on clothes that felt awful. I didn't like how they looked. I didn't like how I looked in them. I crumbled. I hated. I don't use that word, but I literally said 4 weeks ago, I hate the fact that this is the journey I had to go through to love myself and be who I am.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm not living in that. That hit in that moment, and I needed to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important to acknowledge that I didn't like it.
Yep.
This is messed up.
Yep.
And
it's okay to
I
say
wouldn't
that.
change it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
it is.
For sure.
And it's ugly. It's messy. And so it's. I think those are the main ones that I would say start the process.
Yeah,
and
I think that's beautiful.
It could be one day. It could be weekly, hourly. It's whatever you need. There's no rules.
Absolutely. And then lastly, if we could just close out by maybe some encouragement for folks who might be struggling with their implants, may suspect that something is wrong, having symptoms and not really having answers or validation from their doctors, what would you advise someone, based on your own experiences, to how to take steps forward to try to find answers for themselves?
Good question. I think in this world, a lot of us need proof, and proof is really important. And sometimes you can't get that with breast implant illness. Sometimes you can't get that with certain diseases or diagnoses, right? Yeah. You have all the symptoms, but then what, right? There could be a lot of other things. So I will say you need to be proactive and rule out the other things. Getting tested with your, general practitioner on the baseline of things. I also think it's extremely important to be aware in this journey that you can have autoimmune diagnoses that come from breast implant illness that can trigger it. So rheumatoid arthritis, right? That's a big one. POTS, people can have that. Arrhythmias that can be developed. Like, all of these things can tell a story, right? If you have a diagnosis, that doesn't mean it's not your implants. It's I don't know if it's 50-50, but yeah. I think once you have done your due diligence of information, you really have to get honest with yourself and listen to your intuition. Just because it scares you, just because you don't want to do it, just because you can't imagine how it will happen, doesn't mean it's not the breast implants. Yeah. You'll figure that out. You'll figure it out as you need to. But your intuition, when something's wrong and everyone's telling you, it's something to listen to. Mm-hmm. And there are doctors who believe in breast implant illness. And the fact that if it's something you go, okay, I'm going to take control of my health and I'm going to remove that as a variable, you have to know it takes time. Some people have autoimmune diseases that have not been irreversed. Mm-hmm. Some people don't know, some people are for years, right? At the end of the day, you have to be okay with the journey and knowing that you can't control it, but you can make proactive decisions that put you and your health first.
Sure. Are there any resources that you would suggest or recommend for folks who may be trying to seek answers?
So GPACUnited.org is a phenomenal website that gives information about studies.
Okay.
It has also a list of symptoms. If you are in the breast cancer realm, notputtingonashirt.org is a phenomenal resource, not only with examples of what scars could look like, pictures, questions to ask your doctor. And then obviously, because I went to Dr. Khan, Dr. Shahir Khan in Michigan, his website is pretty robust in breast implant illness support, in the sense he has a Q&A section. He has like a quiz, if you will, that you can take yourself. He has a podcast about the surgery and the recovery, whether you go to him or not. I think hearing the information is really important. And then there are 2 groups online. And if you're on Facebook, Breast Implant Illness by Keri with a K, Keri, is a phenomenal group that really support with tools and suggestions and doctors' resources. And Dr. Khan also has a support group for breast implant illness on Facebook.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we'll put all of that in the show notes for folks who may be seeking answers, because unfortunately you're not the only person that I know who has gone through breast implant illness. And I mean, she didn't have cancer, she just had breast implants, but she went through breast implant illness. And I just think in this community it's very important, as we talked about throughout the whole thing, about informed consent and knowing the possibilities of what can happen.
Completely. I agree. Thank you both for creating this podcast and asking the questions that you do and inviting the community to not only heal together, but also become empowered together. It's very important.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you.
That conversation with Ashley really stayed with us. Her honesty and clarity around something so often dismissed was so powerful.
Yeah, it really was. And if you're navigating surgery decisions, if you're feeling unheard, or you just need to know that you're not alone, this episode is for you. And if Ashley's story resonated, please share it with someone who might also need to hear it.
Links to Ashley's work and advocacy are in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back next week with another episode of More Than a Diagnosis. But until then, take care of yourselves and others. Thanks for joining us on More Than a Diagnosis. We hope today's conversation left you feeling seen, heard, and maybe even a little more connected.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it.
And if you're looking for a place to connect with others who truly get it, join our support circle at morethanadiagnosis.org, where we will continue this conversation. It's free, it's welcoming, and it's built for you.
Because no one should have to navigate this alone.
Until next time,
keep living, keep growing, and remember,
you are more than a diagnosis.